And we found this only in talking to him in researching this program, really coincided with the years you would have expected to have been the best Jay in your life. You were Dennis the Menace from 1959 to 1963. It was a hit show. Every kid in the country wanted to be, certainly every boy wanted to be just like you, playful, mischievous, independent, a little rascal, but never malicious. And yet, your life during that period was very, very difficult, to say the least. Now, were you in the legal custody of your aunt and uncle? Is that the way
No, I wasn't, Geraldo. They were my guardians on the set. My mother worked at AFTRA, which is the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists. I did not support her in any way. My aunt and uncle accompanied me to the set and were there with me daily for the whole 8 hours of shooting. My aunt was a woman who could have made Captain Bligh tremble in his boots. She was a monster, a real witch. I always had to live up to her unrealistic and unreasonable expectations, and if I didn't live up to those, I was brutally beaten or verbally assaulted.
Now, you're talking physical assault.
7 to 11, Geraldo.
From age 7 to 11, she would actually lay her hands on you?
Exactly. She beat me, physically assaulted me. There were times when she told me that if I took more than 2 takes to get a scene, she would beat me, and she did. And I had no protection against this, and my uncle was just as bad because he was pretty much henpecked by her. And I remember times when I would go on the set and prepare to do a scene, and she would call me over and say, I want you to do this scene this particular way. I don't want you to pay any attention to the director. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's an idiot. You must do the scene the way I tell you. So I would go in and do the scene the way she wanted it, and the director would yell, cut! Come here, you little monster. I want to talk to you for a minute. I told you to do it this way. And I said, well, wait a minute. My aunt told me to do it this way. And she says, I don't care what your aunt told you. You do it the way I told you to do it. And this kept going on back and forth for a couple of weeks. And finally, I told the director, look, my aunt is directing me on how to play these scenes, and I'm totally confused, and I'm really having a hard time. And she's threatening me with physical abuse if I don't do the scenes her way. So he had a little conversation with her. And her directing days were over after that conversation.
Did your mom know of the pattern of frequent abuse?
She had no idea, Geraldo, because my aunt and uncle told me that if I ever told my mom about the abuse, they would beat me even more severely. I was an automaton, Geraldo, trying to appease her and the people on the set. I had no will of my own. This woman told me how to think, what to say. She planned my whole menu out. I couldn't even go to the bathroom, have any peace in the bathroom for 5 minutes without this woman coming and banging on the door saying, get out here, there's a guy here from the Cleveland Plain Dealer newspaper, and he wants to do an interview with you, and you better sparkle and smile and shine, or I'll just beat the hell out of you.
It sounds truly that the golden period of your life was actually a nightmare.
What she did as a child almost created a monster 30 years later.
All right, now you brought that up. I want to ask, has this abuse as a youngster, as it so often does in people who live lives out of the public eye, has it affected your life as an adult?
Yes, it has, Geraldo, because after the series was over, as I said, I was under the pressure to live up to her expectations and everybody's expectations. The public thought of me as the wonderful all-American little boy. When I was doing the show, I had an absolute crazed obsession with a film, a science fiction classic film called The Village of the Damned. And it was about these alien space children from outer space, and they were all blonde, and they had blue eyes, and they could look at the adults and take control of their minds and make them kill themselves. Now, I had an obsession with this picture, and I made my uncle take me to see it 30 times in 1 year. Because I fantasized about being one of these kids. I used to go home. I couldn't differentiate between reality and fantasy, Geraldo. I would go home on the weekends and stand in front of the mirror and practice focusing my eyes on the mirror, trying to get my eyes to glow like those kids, because I wanted to develop the power that those kids had. I wanted to walk on the soundstage on a Monday morning and make everybody kill themselves, a mass suicide. I just had murderous hatred and rage in me for those whole 4 years. It grew and grew and grew over a 20-year period.
You got married at a very young age.
At 21, at age 21.
The marriage didn't last.
The marriage didn't last. I had no direction. The only thing I knew was acting and being in the entertainment industry. There was no basis of reality. I mean, like when you're a child star, there is no basis of reality.
You went into the service, the Navy, I believe?
That's right. I was in the Navy.
Did the guys, as they so often
Oh,
do,
they were
ridicule
horrible to me because
there's Dennis the Menace. Were you always Dennis the Menace?
Let's go give him some trouble.
Yeah.
Let's razz him a little bit. I had some physical confrontations in the Navy. I mean, the guys wouldn't leave me alone. It was pretty scary.
Post-Navy, post the wreckage of your
And the fans, Geraldo, too. They said, why aren't you out entertaining us anymore? I said, look, I gave you 4 good years as a kid. What do you want? I can't help it if the industry doesn't want me. You know, I mean, people think that I got out of the industry because I wanted to. The industry said, you're finished, pal. You're a has-been. And I said, look, I gave you the best years of my life. What am I supposed to do now? It's not because I love acting. It's the only thing I know how to do.
Is it an understatement to say that you're a bitter man now?
Oh, I'm a very bitter man. I mean, Geraldo, for the last 2 years, this rage that I had inside of me as a child, it just grew and grew and grew and grew, and I had no outlet for it.
All right, let me ask you this. You mentioned this fascination that you had with this picture, Village of the Damned, and with making adults pay for the crimes that they had inflicted on you. This fascination with murder, with homicide, with violence, do you have that to this very day?
No. But for 2 years, I locked myself in my co-op. I had murderous fantasies about killing people.
Oh, my goodness.
My companions in those 2 years were Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy, David Berkowitz, Edmund Emil Kemper III, Joseph Callinger.
Mass murderers all.
Mass murderers all. And in reading these books, I saw that these men were normal functionally, but inside they felt alienated from society and they couldn't express their true feelings or weren't allowed to. And I related to that, and I think that in reading these stories, I had a vicarious fantasy outlet for my rage. It kept me from going out and actually committing horrible acts.
Your co-star, Margaret, now Dr. Jeannie Russell, was on the set with you. I'm curious as to whether or not she can corroborate your tale of abuse. Are you there?
Hello,
Are you there, Dr. Russell? Hi,
Jeannie.
Nice to see you.
How you doing?
You want to say hello to Jay? He's right here.
Dennis Mitchell.
Hi, sweetie. How you doing?
Okay, Dennis Mitchell. I just have one thing to say, though. How dare you go see Geraldo without me?
Where are you calling from, Jeannie?
I'm in my office, and I'm sorry I couldn't break away and come talk to you in person this time. But I've got a lot going on in my practice right now.
Jay has just told us a horrifying tale of abuse from his uncle and aunt, a pattern of abuse that lasted 4 years and that definitely has affected his adult life. I wonder if you can corroborate that. Did you know that this kid was being beaten and harassed by his
Okay, I never witnessed any physical abuse per se, but he was just as well on a leash. Whenever I'd see him walking with his aunt, she always had him in tow physically. And she was a kind of scary lady. She's the type of woman the kid liked to walk about 10 miles around and avoid at all costs. And I'd say that Jay was denied any type of normal spontaneity that could have possibly happened under those circumstances.
If ever there was testimony as to why parents should exercise caution before they take their youngsters and introduce them to the wonderful world of show business, certainly the story of Jay North is eloquent testimony as to the fact that this is not all the gold at the end of the rainbow. We'll continue with his story. We'll talk to Todd. Todd, you don't look so bad, I tell you. You got a haircut, you look, you lost some weight, you look pretty good. Talk to Aaron Murphy, Dawn Wells, Paul Peterson. Stay with us. They were the TV kids we grew up with and we love them. We'll be right back.